Good morning and welcome to St Mary the Virgin Church in Thame in Oxfordshire. And today we are going to visit a disco legend really, but rock and pop as well. He wrote and composed most of the songs that the band sung, and that is of course Robin Gibb. Robin Gibb was very well known as one of the Bee Gees, along with his brothers Barry and Maurice, or Morris, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Unfortunately, Morris died before he did, and they were always at loggerheads, but truly loved each other. But yet, this is an absolutely beautiful church. Hang on, let's turn you around. This church behind me, absolutely beautiful. I'm more or less right in the heart of the town of Oxford, I think, or Thame, literally just outside of Oxford. It's very early, so I do apologise if it's a little bit dark, but we'll have a little look around this absolutely beautiful cemetery or churchyard, and then we'll go and visit the final resting place of Robin Gibb. Robin Hugh Gibb was born on the 22nd of December 1949 in Jane Crookall Maternity Home in Douglas, Isle of Man, to Barbara Gibb, née Pass, and Hugh Gibb. He was a fraternal twin of Maurice Gibb and was the older of the two by 35 minutes. Apart from Maurice, he had one sister, Leslie Evans, and two brothers, Barry and Andy. As children in Manchester, Gibb and his brothers began committing crimes such as petty burglary and arson. In 1955, when the Gibbs moved back to their hometown of Manchester, the brothers formed the Rattlesnakes. The band consisted of Barry on guitar and vocals, Robin and Maurice on vocals, Paul Frost on drums, and Kenny Horrocks on tea-chest bass. The quintet performed in local theatres in Manchester. Their influences at the time were popular acts such as the Everly Brothers, Cliff Richard and Paul Anka. In May 1958, the group was disbanded as Frost and Horrocks left, and the name changed to Wee Johnny Hayes and the Blue Cats. In August 1958, the family travelled to Australia on the same ship as Red Simmons, who also became a prominent musician in Australia. The boys finally changed their name to the Bee Gees while they were living in Queensland, Australia. The Bee Gees' debut television appearance was in 1960 on Desmond Tester's Strictly for Moderns, when they performed Time Is Passing By, when they signed to Festival Records at the start of 1963, but they were assigned to Leiden Records. They released their debut single, The Battle of the Blue and the Grey. Their 1964 single, Claustrophobia, is notable for being the first song that features Gibb as an instrumentalist playing melodica. The first Bee Gees record on which he sang lead was I Don't Think It's Funny in 1965. In 1966 he wrote his first song, I Don't Know Why I Bother With Myself. That was credited to him. Also in 1966, Gibb and his brother Barry took more solo vocals. The group's first period of British success in the late 1960s started with New York mining disaster 1941, and the band added drummer Colin Peterson and guitarist Vince Maloney to their lineup. They toured Europe in 1967 as well as the US in August 1968. The band's first UK number one was Massachusetts, which features Gibb on lead vocals. On 13th of June 1968, Gibb recorded demos for 7 songs accompanying himself on guitar. On 27th of July 1968, Gibb collapsed and fell unconscious. He was later admitted to a London nursing home suffering from nervous exhaustion and was moved to a facility in Sussex on the 31st of July to continue his recuperation. The group, about to embark on its first US tour, cancelled 4 dates after Gibb had a relapse and flew back to England for additional rest. On the 19th of March 1969, he announced that he was leaving the Bee Gees, the same day as the band recorded Tomorrow Tomorrow, their first single without Robin. On 13th of June, Gibb and Maurice reunited and they recorded 4 songs, with 2 of the 4 tracks released on their upcoming album 2 Years On. The session was originally for Maurice and alone, as he brought Gibb to the sessions. On the 21st of June sessions, the pair recorded another 5 songs. In August, the pair returned to the studio and they announced that the Bee Gees were back, with or without Barry's contribution. One of the 14 songs, Back Home and On Weeping, was also released on 2 Years On. On the 21st of August, it was announced that Barry had rejoined the group and they were recording together. The first song after the announcement was Lonely Days, which reached number 3 in the US Billboard Hot 100. On 2 Years On album, Gibb's composition included Alone Again. He also co-wrote and sang lead vocals on the title track, as well as Man for All Seasons in December 1970. Gibb recorded a demo after the laughter. The Bee Gees had their first US #1 single, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, with Gibb contributing on the song, writing with Barry and singing lead vocals on its first verse. In January 1980, Gibb co-wrote and co-produced Jimmy Ruffin's 1980 album Sunrise with Blue Weaver. Ruffin had enjoyed one of his first significant hits, Hold On To My Love, from the album Sunrise, which Robin Gibb had written and produced. Hold On To My Love had reached and stayed in the US top 30 hits for 14 weeks. Also in 1980, he duetted with Marcy Levi on the song Help Me, reached number 50 in the US, featured on the soundtrack of the film Times Square. February 1981, the Bee Gees returned to the studio and recorded Living Eyes. Unlike the previous album, this album was not as successful. However, in subsequent years, the Living Eyes album would become one of the most beloved of Bee Gees albums by their die-hard fans. Living Eyes was produced and published during a time when the Bee Gees were in litigation with their longtime manager Robin Stigwood, leaving them without the production and organisation team they usually had behind them to promote their albums. They then worked on Dionne Warwick's album Heartbreaker and recorded songs for the film Staying Alive. In 2010, Gibb was also a guest mentor on the Australian version of The X Factor alongside TV host Carl Sandilands, actress, singer Natalie Imbruglia, and singers Ronan Keating and Guy Sebastian. Also in 2010, Gibb toured in Australia with Bonnie Tyler as his supporting guest. Together they performed at Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth. In 1968, Gibb married Molly Hewlett, a secretary in Robert Stigwood's organisation. Not long before they were married, they survived the Hither Green rail crash together. They had 2 children together, Spencer, 1972, and Melissa, 1974. The couple divorced in 1980 after years of living separate lives, with Gibb almost permanently in the US and Hewlett remaining in the UK. She filed for divorce on the 22nd of May 1980. On 9th of September 1983, Gibb was arrested and sentenced to 14 days in jail for speaking to the press about his previous marriage in breach of a court order. Gibb's second marriage from 1985 until his death was to Dweena Murphy, an author and artist. At 50 years of age, Gibb began an affair with his 25-year-old housekeeper Claire Yang, that 8 years later produced his 4th child, Snow Evelyn Robin Juliet Gibb, born 4th of November 2008. Gibb and his wife divided their time between their homes in Peel, Isle of Man, their mansion in Miami, Florida, and their main residence in Thame, Oxfordshire. On 10th of March 1988, younger brother Andy died in Oxford of myocarditis. On 12th of January 2003, twin brother Maurice died in Miami Beach, Florida, of complications from a twisted intestine. On the 14th of August 2010, while performing in Belgium, Gibb began to feel abdominal pains. On 18th of August 2010, at an Oxford hospital, he underwent emergency surgery. Gibb recovered and returned to perform concerts in New Zealand and Australia. During this time, Gibb was also involved in promoting fundraising for the memorial dedicated to RAF Bomber Command in Green Park, London. Gibb continued to make television appearances and other events following his surgery, but in April 2011 he was forced by health problems to cancel his tour of Brazil. Another concert in Paris was cancelled in October 2011. On the 14th of October, Gibb was due to perform the charity single With the Soldiers, but was again rushed to hospital with severe abdominal pains. On 18th of October, following his release from the hospital, Gibb appeared on ITV's The Alan Titchmarsh Show, looking gaunt and frail. On the 27th of October 2011, Gibb cancelled an appearance only minutes before he was due to perform at the Poppy Appeal concert in London.
In November 2011, he was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, which had moved to his liver several months earlier. In March 2012, Gibb was hospitalised for his intestinal surgery and cancelled scheduled appearances while recovering. In April, however, he contracted pneumonia and fell into a coma, which he came out of later in April. He died in a London hospital on the 20th of May 2012 at the age of 62. While it was initially reported that he died from cancer, Robin John Gibb said that his father's cancer had gone into remission by the time of his death, and the cause was kidney failure. His funeral was held on the 8th of June 2012, and he was buried at the Church of St Mary the Virgin near his home in Thame, Oxfordshire. In September of the same year, a blue plaque was placed on the house. In 2015, a headstone engraved with some of the lyrics of his group's songs, including How Deep Is Your Love, was placed.
Well, that's the story of Robin Gibb. Typical brothers, always fighting, but deep down they really loved each other. I just can't get over how beautiful this cemetery. This is probably the nicest one I've been to, and as you heard by the church, you know exactly what time it is. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Right, well, I can actually see his final resting place now, so I'll spin you around, and as usual we'll go and have a look at it together. Right, this is a nice headstone, and from what I've read, I've not actually looked at it yet, from what I've read, it has the lyrics of some of their songs on it. I came past earlier and had a quick look, because I knew his house was here, where he lived from 2008 until his death. There we go, like How Deep Is Your Love, written on the back of it. Right, let's turn around, you can get a proper look at it. Robin Hugh Gibb, CBE, singer-songwriter, 1949 to 2012. And there's quite a lot of interesting stuff that people have put on his grave. Obviously a lot of fans come and visit this grave. But that is the final resting place of Robin Hugh Gibb, CBE. Well, that's the final resting place of Robin Gibb. I'll always remember him from his disco days. I always thought of the Bee Gees as sounding like someone had kicked them in the privates, you know, very high-pitched voices. Very good songs, very catchy songs, good songs to dance to back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. I didn't really listen to too much of his later stuff. But anyway, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up, it really does help the channel. And if you like the content, then maybe consider subscribing. And if you do subscribe, or if you have already subscribed, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. So that is it from St Mary the Virgin Church in Thame in Oxfordshire. I'll see you again on the next one. So bye bye for now.